Um, I've really come a long way the past few years, and it feels great, and I'm really liking this. And just as one example, we've talked a lot about relationships today, so that's a good example, and a good time to catch my breath. I came into 2005 with an intention of shifting a relationship perspective from being a need to a want. And felt a little better, worked a little, and by the end of the year I was there, and that felt a lot better, felt great. And then in 2006, had an intention of being very happy as is, being very happy being single, just liking that and soaking in what life had to offer, where I was at that moment.
So that's a pretty good moment, isn't it? Satisfied with where I am and eager for more.
That turned out to be an incredible moment, yes. And that felt so good that coming into 2007, I felt like, wow, I mean, I knew before, but this is one example of this is what alignment feels like. And I could just feel it.
And in the absence of a relationship, no discord?
Moments of impatience here and there.
But mostly?
On the whole, no. Okay. On the whole, it was, yes, I know I'm on the right track. Yes, I know I'm happy. In fact, I was so happy in the moment that for this year, for 2007, I was like, okay, I need to remind myself that is indeed the goal, to have a relationship, because I'm really happy as is, kind of a thing.
Well, now, that's a very good state of being, mm-hmm. because you don't withdraw from your desire.
Right.
You've just soothed the consternation and resistance. In other words, a lot of times people think that if they're not hurting over something, that they've stopped wanting it because they're so accustomed to feeling bad about the things they want. Right. So this is really a good state of being. And
before I learned of your processes, and for a long time now, since learning about your processes, that's the path I've been on. And it just feels better and better and better, and feels better. And you know, better than I ever thought it could. And then it feels better some more. And as you have said in the past, inevitably, and as I in certain moments was impatient of, once I reached that point of very happy as is, not just happy, satisfied as is, then of course I met the most wonderful, incredible, amazing man that more than I could have imagined. So my question is,
not more than you could have imagined, but more than you can contemplate all at once.
Yes. Because you're right, I had imagined it in total. You're right. So my only question is, now that here on this physical level, in our physical selves, we're having this exhilarating, interactive, wow, falling in love experience, do our non-physicals do that too? Do our inner beings fall in love too? What is the dynamic between our non-physical counterparts as we physical are having this wild experience?
As an interesting way to word that, because, and we're going to take it in a slightly different direction, which will answer the question. It's going to sound odd to you, but it is so not odd. The feeling of falling in love is coming into alignment with your inner being because of your attention to the other. In other words, when two people use each other as their object of attention, of such appreciation that they align with who they are, that is the optimum feeling of being in love. So the odd part is, you're not really in love with them, you just use them as the excuse to become in love with you. Mm-hmm. You're quite smart that you got that.
And because I get it too, that makes complete and total sense.
In the same way that we've been saying, what is it that I'm thinking about you that I'm using as my excuse to not let myself be who I am? Being in love is, what is it that I'm thinking about you that I'm using as my excuse to let me be who I am?
Mm-hmm. And I even feel that in the moment. I mean, and I recognize that day to day.
And can you feel how it takes all the pressure off of them and sets you up for really a good relationship? Because now they're free to be who they are, and you're free to continue to use them as your excuse to be who you are. It's the basis of perfect relationships.
And also to kind of take responsibility back to not just see them as my excuse to come in alignment, but supplement me coming into alignment on my own.
Completely.
Right.
Completely your responsibility. So where do they come into it? So now, two people doing that doesn't get any better than that.
And along that line, long before you mentioned it this morning, but long before I've heard you say that the optimal expression of putting words around this commitment type thing is, I like you pretty good, let's see how it goes. And that makes perfect sense to me. And in fact, even before or without Abraham teachings, that is kind of his stance too. And I'm really glad I heard it from you first, because and I learned what that was. Because if I didn't know that and I heard it from him, that would have landed very differently on me. So thanks.
And let's put it in the context of what is it that I'm thinking about you that I'm using as my excuse to line up? Because what I'm in other words, in an atmosphere of freedom, there is always the greater potential for alignment than in the atmosphere of bondage. In other words, that's simply the reason that the movie theater doesn't feel as good. In other words, there's just a little feeling of less freedom in it than out of it.
Right. Okay.